Buenos dias, good morning, good morning. Are we ready to get started? Caffeinated, all stretched out? Okay, good. I am Domenika Lynch. I am Executive Director of the Latinos and Society program at the Aspen Institute, which is one of 30-plus policy programs. We're focused on accelerating the economic mobility of Latinos in the United States, bringing together cross-sector leaders to explore the challenges and the opportunities, because we know that when one cohort in our community does well, it lifts all cohorts as well. So I am particularly delighted that Sports and Society and Project Play has designed this panel to really double-click on Latinas, Latina girls, and how can we ensure that they are included in that access to sports. So I want to share some stats with you to give you some context, and then give you sort of an overview of what the time together would look like. So in terms of Latinos in the United States, we're about 20% of the population, roughly about 65 million. That represents about 25% of Latinos are children under the age of 18. 1 in 4 children in the United States are Latino. From those children, 95% of children from birth to 17 are US-born citizens. So that's 95% of children. And if you think of where the children are concentrated, there are 5 states that the children population, over 40% are Latinos. Number 1 state, New Mexico, where 62% of all children in New Mexico are Latino. State of California, 52% of all children are Latino. Next is Texas, Arizona, and Nevada, where over 40% of the children are Latino. Important to have this conversation about Latinas, because when we start connecting dots and seeing who's not represented in sports and then connecting it to some of the health outcomes, we see that obesity in terms of how communities are faring. We're looking at Latinas being the ones struggling with overweight and obesity. About nearly 80% of adult women 20 and up, Latinas, are battling obesity. So it trickles down to our Latinas, our children. So this is why I'm so delighted that we're going to take this time to think through with this data why it's an issue that concerns us all when we think of a healthy society. So before I'll kind of break down what we're going to do, I like to know who's on the room. You kind of know our bios, but we want to get a sense of what you know in terms of the subject that we're going to talk about. How do we get more of these Latina girls to play? So I know that there is, you going to do the clicker? Yep. Okay, we're going to do a few questions.
Yep, so you all should have practiced Mentimeter yesterday, so we will do a similar poll here just to see who's in the room, why we are here today. All right. So everyone can scan this QR code up here.
So as you do that, I'll give you sort of the overview. We have about 90 minutes together. Good news is we're not going to talk at you that whole time. We're going to split the time. We're going to have that opportunity, about 30 minutes of a discussion with some subject matter experts, because we're looking at the ecosystem of really understanding some of the solutions, because we want to move the needle, want to turn some great ideas into action. Number 2, we're going to give you time to also come together to share some best practices, to cross-pollinate ideas, hopefully make some networks, expand your networks, and also educate us as well. So we will divide the time where you will facilitate at your table, and we'll have one of you report back just overall themes. And I think these are great recommendations as well for Sports and Society to follow up on. So as you let us know, let me see who you are. We see that about 25% of you are youth sport provider. It's a majority. 11% are funders. It's great. We need more investments in sports, particularly girls' sports. We have some parents in the house, so important as well. And researchers, great. Really, this is the ecosystem we need, really, to design some effective strategies. Any more?
Yeah, we have a few more. So in one sentence, why did you choose this panel? We're curious to see what brought you here in this room. And I don't know if everyone can see the answers, but a group I don't know much about, want to understand obstacles for Latinas. I currently serve Latinas in my program. I'm a Latina and was a Latina girl growing up playing sports. How can I use my platform and its programs to engage all of our community? It's a population in my state that is underserved in relation to sports. It's an incredible opportunity, and we need to do a better job of being attractive to this group. All right, learned how to get better engagement. These are great answers. This is very exciting. Find out other strategies. Awesome. Thank you so much. And we have a couple more questions. Have you rank in your community what are the biggest barriers to Latina youth participating in sports? We will be reviewing these barriers and kind of going in depth, learning more how these affect young Latina girls. So we see language really being ranked number one, shifting. Awesome. Yeah, so it looks like language and cultural barriers, financial costs, lack of transportation and safe places to play, lack of information to kids and families, immigration concerns, and lack of trained coaches. Very interesting in today's current climate. Awesome. And we'll go to the last question. What are some factors that might inspire more Latina youth to play? And that's what we'll be doing here today is hearing from you all also about what solutions can be and crowdsourcing those as well. Representation is huge within coaching and having role models. Yeah. All right, pretty across the board with representation. That makes sense. That is very important for our young women, especially marginalized identities, as we know. Coach representation, awesome. Well, thank you so much for engaging with that Mentimeter. We will touch on those topics today, and great to just kind of see who's in the room and where we're at. So I will pass it back to Domenika. And
Can you hear me? Is it on? Hello, hello? Okay, great. All right, so I think those are important because it kind of level sets who we're talking to, the kind of concerns that you have, things you already know. So what I want to do now is introduce you to this incredible panel who are experts, but also our parents, have been engaged in sports themselves, so this lived experience is also so important as we try to really source some solutions. So I want to ask each of you to introduce yourself, your organization. I think my co-moderator here already started, but want to make sure that also you share what your connection to sport is, the organization you represent, how you deliver on that mission, and then what unique nuance about the Latino culture as we want to increase access to something that is top of mind for you. So we'll start with you, Ruby.
all right, hello everybody. My name is Ruby Avila. I am with the Project Play team. I'm a program associate, and I am also a Latina athlete. I am a soccer player, and that was, a huge connection with the work that I do, is really being able to increase access for underserved youth and making sure that there is equity, quality programming, and safety for all kids playing sports and participating in youth activity, or in physical activity. A nuance specifically for Latina youth is definitely just the intersection between gender and race. That cannot be overlooked when we are, looking at society, and then in every part of society, but especially for kids and for progress, like, you must understand that there are very unique applications, I guess I would say, like, to the identity. So just knowing that what Latinas have gone through and understanding that cultural significance of what sports mean to the family and being a woman, being pushed maybe outside of a traditional norm is really important. If that makes
more
sense.
deep into
Yeah.
it. So I think just more to getting a flavor of where you're coming from, your point of view. Because part of this discussion, what we do at the Aspen Institute, is look at the different lines of sight. Where we see a dimension of the problem, and we want to turn a problem into a project that we can solve. So, Patty?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Patty Godoy. I am a nurse by training, but I'm also the co-founder and CEO of AS Sports Foundation. And ella, for those of you that don't know Spanish, means she in Spanish, her. And it's an acronym. It's a very long acronym, so I won't read it, but I have it on my shirt right here. But basically, our goal is to level the playing field for Latina athletes. My daughter graduated from Cornell University on a softball scholarship, actually an award. It was a gift given to her because she plays sports. So because of that, we wanted to give back to our community and bring awareness and bring sports and improve that for the Latinas, because when I went to see her play at Cornell, I was the only one that looked like her. So for me, it was a very much time to just open up my eyes and see what the kind of work. I also played softball when I was in high school. I didn't go further because, again, there was no access for me. I couldn't afford it. I came here when I was 12 and I was undocumented. So for me, sports has always been a way where I felt empowered and I felt like I belong when there were times that I couldn't go outside my house because I was afraid of being deported. So I had a special connection with softball. And that's why my 4 daughters, they all play sports when they were little. And I think that's really important. One of the things that we need to drive with as parents. We need to empower the parents and get them full of knowledge so they know what's out there for their kids. So I'm very grateful to be here today and share more stories with you.
Yes, thank you. Hector?
Good morning, everyone. Hector LaFarga, CEO of After School All Stars Los Angeles. We are an out-of-school time provider for 23,000 kids in LA County in various school sites throughout the county. 86% of our population are Latino, and half of that 86% are Latina. So that's about 10,000 young Latinas that are in our program on a daily basis. Most of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch, so there's a high need. Space and access are issues in our school sites. We have a lot of charter schools, and they're in very unique buildings. It's not the traditional school setting. So how do we solve that solution in terms of sports for them is a question for us. We educate and enlighten and inspire youth to succeed in school and in life. In a personal note, I've coached recreational soccer for 12 years, both boys and girls. I have 2 young ladies who do play soccer at a club level, and making that investment is unique for Latinos because it is a cost for families. A unique thing for me in the work that we do at After School All Stars is building community, and I think as we kind of get into our conversation, I want to elaborate on that.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Joestrid Medina-Rodriguez. I'm a regional coach and bilingual coordinator for Indianapolis RBI. RBI is Revive Baseball Inner City, where we focus on low-income family to bring them to join the sport of softball or baseball. We also alliance with MLB baseball. On my personal note, I'm from Puerto Rico, live in Indianapolis for the last 30 years, a mother of 3, what is 27, 24, and 5 years old. Yes, I start over after 19 years. So both of my older kids, they attend to college. My older one played basketball for Indiana State. My daughter played basketball also for Missouri Valley. And my 5-year-old right now is playing 3 or 4 different sports. So let's see what he loves. Because the mother represents Puerto Rico, I played for Puerto Rico on 92 basketball and softball. So it's a pleasure to be here and share some of the knowledge that I can share to you guys and use to recruit Latino. So my pleasure this morning to be with you guys.
Thank you so much. So as you could see, we have the different expertise, and I love that we even have like a resident nurse in this conversation, because it's also about developmental processes for young women, right, as they grow up, and some of the issues also that are barriers that they may encounter. But I want to start with Ruby in terms of Project Play, and you're in the field a lot, and you saw some of the challenges there. What are some of the solutions and best practices to get more Latinas in terms of the recruitment aspect into the game?
Yeah, so at Project Play, I primarily work on the State of Play report. So going into communities across the nation to assess the landscape of sports and physical activity. So really assessing the challenges and barriers, but then coming up with high impact strategic recommendations and solutions. So I would say in some of the communities we've been in, very large Latinx populations, and we hear a lot that kids are not getting access to fields, so they'll be locked after schools. They're not feeling safe, and they're also not feeling empowered by their family and their community. There have been instances where kids kind of get bullied off the team, or it's primarily white, dominant, upper class and wealthy, and it's just not very much a welcoming community. So
It's intimidating.
It's intimidating, and so I really think that coach representation in a welcoming environment where coaches are trauma-informed or just culturally informed, so that they can relate to their youth participants is really important. I would say as women, representation is one of the key things that would make you want to try a sport, would make you feel comfortable and safe. We know that there is a lot of abuse in sports, and so we need to be really recognize that those Latina girls need that support.
Yeah. It's important. So you can't be what you can't see, and I think growing up and now to be able to see like Simone Biles, and I mean the power that they have to own their magnificence without asking permission. And I'm floored that so many young women are following that. We see how there's a lot of excitement around the game. So Patty, you brought that into the mindset of your daughter, and because of this love for sports, because of your lived experience, and then her excellence as well, you co-founded Ellas. So tell us a little bit about some of the challenges, the gaps you saw in the ecosystem that you saw such a need for Ellas to be founded.
So the first thing I believe is knowledge. I think in the Hispanic community, there's a misconception about sports. Usually boys are, and I always say they're born with a ball, a soccer ball, basketball in their crib before they're born. I mean, they have it ready for them. For girls, it's different. They either enter sports because a friend was in that team, or unless you had a parent that played, so that's different, right? You saw that value. So we need to be reaching out to families and basically sharing that information, the value of like sport. And it's not just so much, like I know for us, my daughter, I always say, she got free education because of softball, but my other three daughters didn't decide to go to college. I mean, they didn't decide to go to play, college sport, but it still they had the same type of mentality. They were able to develop themselves as athletes, right? They were able to work on that work ethic. Because girls that play sports are very rigid, so we need to really encourage that. But if they don't have that opportunity to do so, then they're not going to. And then movement, oh my God, I know that right now I was like looking at the CDC and I'm like, gosh, I have to move more. But for kids between the ages of 5 and 12, you have to at least 60 minutes a day. And who gets that? They don't get it at the school setting right now because of limited funds. So we need to make sure that they have access to sports.
And Patty, how does your organization do it? Give us some of the strategies you
Yes, so
implement.
the organization, we have 3 overarching key metrics that we work at. So with like athletics, we offer free camps or low-cost camps to girls in clinics, anywhere from the ages of 5 to 15 or 18. We bring those to the different communities, and they're able to have quality training as well, because we bring coaches that are highly trained. The other aspect that we do is we have the ambassador program within our community, key metric. With the ambassador program, and again, it's about representation, right? I know that if I walk into a high school room and I say I'm a leader in my job, I'm a nursing director, I work for Men's Central Jail, girls that are Latinas like me, when they're 12, 14, they're gonna look at me like, wow, she made it as a nurse. I could do that too. So I think for us, it's the same thing with the AYA ambassador. We wanna make sure the girls in their community see community heroes. So if my daughter comes to her community and runs a camp for free, little girls are looking at her like, oh my God, she did it. She went to college, and she's not 5'9", 6 feet tall, blonde. She looks like them, and so being able to have that representation, and also equipment drives where you're providing free equipment, because equipment is so expensive. I used to pay $500 for a bat for my daughter. So it's very, very expensive. Uniforms are expensive. So if we're able to offset some of the equipment price that they have to pay, a lot of our clinics is like, come with nothing. We'll just run it for you. We'll be there for you. Or we offer equipment to underserved communities that are lacking that, a lot at the high school level, because they don't have those funds. Or they have to go and fundraise, or they have to do things like that. So those are some of the ways that we do it.
Thank you. I'll come back about how you raise money, but I want to get to Hector because you're servicing so many children, 10,000 girls, you said, Latinas in that group. What are the ways you're connecting those programs to the families?
So our philosophy is really to build trust and respectful relationships. And in our work, we do have a captive audience, right, of kids that we can engage in one of our main initiatives, which is Sports as a Hook, that's focused on the well-being and health of our students. But also a thread of social emotional wellness is infused in it. And part of what we do is heavy parent engagement, right? We get into the school community, we get into the community to inform them of the importance of what we do through sports and allow their daughters to participate, because we have the opportunity to not just introduce them to the traditional sports like soccer or basketball. We're able to introduce them to rugby. We're able to introduce them to a new dynamic sports program called KinFlow. And these are things that they would probably never have access to. So you got to explain to the parents. And going back to building community, that's the foundation for Latino families is building community. You have to, if the parents trust you, if you market to them, if you communicate to them as they want to be communicated with, in their own language, in their own values, and if you communicate that you're building trust with them, then they're going to allow their daughters to play. And then the experience for us as an organization is to give them the most positive experience as an athlete. And we get them in the sweet spot, because we have TK through high school, right? Middle school seems to be the sweet spot where you can influence a kid whether sports will be for them or not. Because when they're in elementary, they're not just focused yet, but middle school you will see, and that's the ages 11 to 14, where you can make the biggest difference. And that's what our data tells us, that the kids will stay in sports and go on if they have a positive experience and build constructive and respectful relationships.
So I love what you said. You're addressing, not only we're talking about recruitment, so what are the strategies to reach Latinas, but also retaining them as well. That's really important, because we know that by age of 11, they drop off. And I know I want to get to our next panelist. And also, there's a story you shared about how you were recruited, and in the ways that, Joestrid, you also are very sensitive to help to build trust with Latino families. So connect those dots for us.
Just she was mentioned that how I got recruited. One of my personal past, how I got recruited, I was playing with boys in the neighborhood. And back in '92, this gentleman driving around, he stopped. And he's like, "You playing basketball with boys?" He's like, "Yes." He's like, "I want you to come and join my team, play with us. I have a team who's gonna represent Puerto Rico." When I got recruited, almost the team was already picked. He maybe have 2 spots left. He saw me playing with boys, and he gave me the opportunity to go and play for and represent Puerto Rico. By that saying, this is one of the ways and reasons how I also recruit kids. I do drive around neighborhoods. I do drive in a city. I do go public schools. I partnership with the public school with the city. The city, on the way that we partnership with the city, they let us use the baseball diamond. And we fix the diamonds, we use it, and we recruit kids around the city. We go and get them, especially Latinos. It's hard to have them go out and try to find a place to play. If you see Latino kids playing on an organization that they have to pay the high expensive money, it's because the parents really got a really good job and don't have to help the family and their country. But today, one of the Latinos issue is we do have our family in our country. We have bigger family as a Latino. As a Latino, you see they have 2 or more kids. That's a plus for us. That's a plus to recruit kids. But at the same time, we have to know how we're gonna get Latinos involved. We have to go and recruit kids at the school, at basketball court, baseball diamonds, around the neighborhood. And we do have talents around neighborhood that these kids don't really know where to go and do any type of sport. We do have talent. And unfortunately, we're losing that talent through the video games because they don't go out and play anymore like we used to do it. But how can we do that when we see this kid in the front of their house with a basketball court, with a soccer net on the backyard? I do stop. I do ask the parents, did he want to go playing baseball? Oh, how can I do that? I don't have money for this. And I share them what the RBI do for the city and the community.
Joestrid, one comment you made earlier had to do with how you communicate with the parents, and you kind of blew me away with the answer, and you said details.
Yes.
Can you explain? So as we put flyers out there, as we reach out parents, what do you mean details?
Details. As a Latino parents, if you explain to the parents, oh, your kid's gonna go and play baseball, the parents is like, oh, yes, who picking up my kid? Where my kid's going? Who's gonna be there? At what time he's coming back? How long this take? So we have to give the parents details. We have to give the entire information. And there's nothing wrong with that. We overprotect our kids. As a Latino, we do. And it's something that we have to have in mind when we're recruiting kids. We have details to provide the parents. Your kid has been invited to enjoy this sport. This is the time we start. This is when we end. This is the place we are. And today, it's easier because we can share locations. On the past, we don't have all this knowledge, all this social media, everything that we can share today. So today, I would have said it's easy. Also today, I can mention it's a little easier to get Latinos in the game than the past. On the past, Latino dad, no, you stay at home, you're gonna clean. Today, Latino dad, if they don't have a boy, they do want that female to play sport. So I would say today it's easier for us to recruit more Latinas to the game. Thank
you. So in language, in culture, and the details do matter because you start building that bridge. And it sounds, it's more onus on those that are recruiting the children, right? But it will, at the end of the day, I think what you'll find is more children participating. So Hector, you mentioned in this environment where we have, I mentioned 95% of Latino children are US born, but there are a portion that are facing the consequences of executive orders and immigration. So how is your program addressing it? The outreach and the participation, yeah.
Our messaging is creating a safe space in our programs in partnership with our school districts, in partnership with our parents, to make sure that the families feel secure. You know, we're gonna take care of our students as much as we take care of our own kids. From my lens as as a parent as well. But I think it's the communication piece in this issue around immigration and parents having fear. You know, the reality is we have in my daughter's soccer team, my majority Latinos, parents won't travel with us near the border. They will not travel with us. So we build community and support them by taking their child and protecting their child. And in the after-school space, we do the same. We train our staff to be sensitive to the issue. We collaborate with the district, we collaborate with the parents, and to understand the needs. And the needs, you can't assume that they're not showing up to pick up their kid because they're a bad parent. They might not be showing up because there's rumors of things happening in the community and getting picked up. So there has to be sensitivity around that issue every day, and create the support system within the network that you exist in to face that challenge.
So I know that your time's coming up to do some of your own ideation, but I do want real quickly to ask the whole panel in terms of systems change, a policy that you would want, that you know you could scale. So if you can start with Ruby and then have each of what would be the one magic wand, if this could happen, this would allow more children to participate. Ruby.
I would say, I think coach training is really key. So if you have a population of Latino kids, specifically girls, again, that intersection of gender and race, your coaches should, in my opinion, at least know some basic Spanish, or being able to relate to the kids, understanding that piece. Yeah.
Thank you. And also, as you give the policy, if there's any funding opportunity, any insights you can impart, because we know we need investments, that'd be helpful too. But Patty.
So for me, what I have to say is, I know that like for EYA, our services are like mobile, so we go to different communities. But one of the things that for us would be, having the space to provide this, whether it's empowerment workshops, clinics, camps, having a space where girls can come and be safe. And I know that as a nonprofit, you work off grants, and grants sometimes are very specific to what they want you to do. So sometimes that limits us to what we can do. But I think being able to, because I think having that space would be able to continue to create that sense of community. I know for us, parents reach out to us anytime, they can call our organization or our advisory board anytime they have any questions or concerns. So basically having more space to have this.
And there's opportunity to be creative around the fundraising, car washes, tamales, selling tamales right into the holidays. Hector, policy change.
For me, the opportunity is to collaborate and advocate. And if you collaborate in your communities with Latino serving organizations, then you start building trust, and you start building a network. Do that with the nonprofit sector. Do that with your cities. Do that with the Parks and Rec. Do that with your local elected officials. Push the issues around resources and funding and lack of space, and to change the dynamic of the neighborhoods that you're serving, to give the opportunity for Latinos to have space to even play sports, and so some of us face that situation. And then on the advocacy side, you have to push for legislation that's going to create more funding in schools, and push for programs like after-school programs, which are critical. Some are our youth providers, and we hire youth providers because of the funding that we get from our state. I don't know if you're aware, but California is probably leading the way in after-school funding, and they've been doing it for over 25 years, and they just infused another $4 billion in the recent years for out-of-school time funding, which allows all the providers to invest in more sports and the academic side as well, but it's flexible funding. So that's the advocacy in your states, to have the investments made for your children and that affect the populations that are in most need. I had a conversation before coming here with a former colleague with Boys and Girls Club, and he said all that money from the COVID years, the ESSER money, went away. And everybody who ramped up programs, those programs are going away. So there's a gap. There's a huge gap. Funders can only do so much. Corporate and private foundations, they can only do so much. It's a system of investment in in the legislature that's going to change everything for us to sustain the long-term opportunities for our children.
And that's what's exciting about 63 by 30, because it's built into that framework. How do we have this sustainable growth and participation of kids?
For RBI, how we do it, we do a partnership with mayor, all the major sports on the city. What is it? Pacers, Colts, Convention Center. We also do it with NSR. What we do, we run the concession stands, and the money the program made, and the workers that we take, volunteers, we go half and half. I take the children who play for RBI, and also the parents. They make money for the program, for any equipment, anything that we need. And also these children and parents bringing money home. So that's one of the ways we, as RBI, we really have succeed on this, part of the program. We really do, our 80% of our profit have been a nonprofit coming from concession stand. So during weekends, weekdays, parents go and help weekends. You see all these teenagers from 14 to 18 working. Here comes Sunday, they get their little check. They're so happy because they can buy their Jordans. Oh, they're so happy because they say, man, I see this $300 bat and I want it. So they go and buy their bat that they want. And I know the program getting some funds for the program, and the kids and family getting some funds for themselves. So that's one of the bigger ways we really help.
And we need to
our
scale
program.
something like that. So we're halfway through our time, so now we want to hear from you. So we're going to take about 20 minutes to have you all have a conversation. There is a sheet right in the middle of the table with a pen. And the idea is that you're going to take some of the things we said, some of the things we didn't say, and share amongst yourself, see what works. We know public-private partnerships do work. Is there something you're seeing? Is there an idea you have? So then we're going to have a moment and have you report out. But we also will have opportunity to ask questions as well. So we'll start the clock now. We'll give you about 20 minutes, and then we want to hear from you. So pick someone from your table who will report back, or I'll call on you. All right. Thank you.
I'm gonna go in. Yeah, I'm gonna get my pills.
Yes, yes. Feel free to join the table. I'm going to the table.
To report, so hopefully you chose someone from the table that's going to report back. And if I can ask my panelists to join me in case you all have any questions about some of their strategies. All right. Well, we're standing, I think lunch is like around the corner, so I want to make sure that I mind the calendar. But if you're part of the panel, come back to the stage. If there are any questions of the audience, we want to allow you as well. Okay, this was great. A lot of great ideas, a lot of experts in the house. So I'm excited to hear from you. So I don't want to pick on anybody, but I will. So any volunteers who would like to go? All right, table right here.
Oh, I thought this was for questions.
No. Report back from your table.
That's to me then.
All right, that's all right.
Wonderful.
It's a first mover table. It's
Yeah,
great.
we're ready to go. Well, we definitely needed more time. So I will report on as far as we got. So our group focused on lack of information or outreach to kids and families. Do you want just an overview of where we
Yeah,
came?
you know, in fact, I have my notes. We don't want to recap. We just want one or two big ideas as they
One
come
or
up
two,
with.
okay. Perfect, thank
And
you.
what challenges you discussed with your idea, yeah.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing we came across for us is when we are trying to provide a program or a resource to Latina communities, we find a lot that, as you guys were speaking, the boys are put first. And so if we had, and we heard we need details when we speak to families, if we don't have an opportunity to give full details, we have one highlighted sentence, a flyer. What is the best way that we can communicate to a Latina girl to get her attention to say, let me look further into this? If we only have that quick second, so we can then build the relationship that it's gonna take over time to build trust. So that's our takeaway. How could we be better at outreach by getting just kind of that attention-grabbing sentence?
This is great, and if anybody has an answer to that, I want to invite.
I actually have an
anybody.
answer.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it on? Have an attainable role model in that community that girls can just see them, whether it's a picture, a short video of a girl's journey playing sports. It would be very, it will get girls.
And I would just add, for most girls, adolescents developing, the social aspect is really important. So as a soccer coach for middle school girls, predominantly Latino and Black community, having a social aspect and knowing that your friends might be there, and again, representation. So kids your age or even an older girl playing sports, I think would be a great draw in.
And they're there. You have to just find that one, and maybe it's through social media sometimes.
Social
right?
media.
Right,
No,
you'll
but
find them.
social media and that little highlighted social media can go and put in all the information and all the details they might need. Today, social media is a huge help.
Great. Okay, thank you very much for being a first mover. All right, who else will go next? Let's see. Come on, I know there's some great ideas. All right, here we go. The gentleman right there.
Yes. So, proper training with coaches and organizations on the social emotional part of understanding the culture and how to communicate, understanding the nuances that come with some of the barriers when it comes to uniform equipment, things like facilities. We just touched on the communication part of the details and what's needed, X, Y, and Z, for the trust. It's building that trust on the communication. You can put words out there, but do I trust the words? So it's building that community and having those different conversations and meetings, face-to-face meetings, so they trust you to be able to hear your message.
Thank you for that. And just also understand within Spanish, there are different nuances, right? Some South American grew up, immigrant from Ecuador. There's a word we use to pick something up. Well, in another part of Latin America, that word's a bad word.
Right.
And you don't know, and you use it, and you put it in your flyer, you're going to offend the family. So that's the piece that it's not a monolith. So Cuban Americans, that word means differently, and it's not a bad word, but for Mexican Americans maybe, and you're using that word for the daughter that takes it to the father, and it's like, oh my gosh. So those are the nuances that if you're not, in terms of the understanding the culture, it's really important to ask for help and just making sure you have in the right context. So not all Spanish is uniform. Some one words will change. So thank you very much. Somebody else back there? Okay, great.
First of all, thank you very much for the panel. I thought they were excellent. My name is Maria Lemos with Visión y Compromiso. We're a national network of promotoras and community leaders. Domenika, mucho gusto. And I just want to make a distinction between our recent immigrant community and our native-born community. We're very different. And so how you approach a third-generation non-Spanish-speaking Latina child is probably very different than you would a recent immigrant child. And I think those are the nuances in our community that you should take into, I'm sure the panel members know that, but we are not all, of the 60 million Latinos in the United States, we are very different. In Arizona, in the rural areas, in California, we're Dominican, we're Mexican, we're all these things, we're indigenous. And I think it'd be important to look at the community that you're serving and how to approach them in the best way.
We're also Afro-Latino, and so the importance of knowing those, as you look for that role model that looks like the community you're trying to recruit. So thank you for that very much. Acculturation, that's sort of the word. Let's see, anybody else? I'm gonna start picking up.
In the back.
This is wonderful. Great.
Jamie Uti from Buffalo, New York, representing Say Yes Buffalo, Breaking Barriers Buffalo.
All right.
The barriers to play that we discussed, or better yet, that I would like to speak to today, is the lack of safe spaces to play. And the question in which that I wanted to speak to is, if I had a magic wand, what would I do in order to come up with a solution for more Latino youth playing? I always like to say, relationship building is key. So being able to provide that space for the young person to get to know me for who I am as a coach, and for me to get to know the young person as a person. I always tell my young people when I coach, it's bigger than the sport in which that we're playing, and I'd rather get to know you for who you are, understand that this season or this sport is only going to last a few years throughout your life, and you're going to be an adult and a human being way longer. So being able to, I believe Ruby mentioned it on the panel, just being able to have representation and resonating, just to be able to, know Spanish, or ask them what are their favorite foods, be able to have an interest and a knowledge of the culture, so therefore we can incorporate that in practices and plays and in game time. So being able to provide those safe and brave spaces to see them as a human being, so therefore they can have that fun, safe space to play. Thank you.
Excellent. And I know it's important too for coaches to meet the parents as well, because that will allow where the child can't convince the parents to travel for a particular meet, the coach can be a facilitator of that. See anybody else? We still have some time. Okay, I'm going to pick the table where I was sitting then, because we had some good solutions as well. So the front table, yes, thank you. Just stand up, yep, and you get the microphone.
I get nervous. I get really nervous. I'm sweating.
Got this.
Thanks. So one of the big things for our large table here was making sure that we found members in the community to help us do the work. So, for example, my org, it's only 2 people. I'm black and white, and my executive director is white. So we don't have that community or the ability to go into the community and be like, okay, we are you, we understand. So what we've done is we're working with our parents. This is new, we're a pretty new org, but this is new within the last couple of months, to find some of these families that are going to be ambassadors for us now, and that trust us and can help us grow trust within the community. And they look like the community and they belong in the community, and since they trust us, we're hoping that this will allow the community to trust us more as well. So that's something that we're doing in Colorado, where I'm from, and we're moving into other states as well. And I think the communities there are not as big, and they're not as out front and open. So we're really having to look and find these families, but we want to build the trust, and we want to be a trusted resource for them. So just building ambassadors and helping us build a trusted brand to help the families.
Thank you. And I love that, because there are only 2, that would be the excuse why you cannot be in community reach out. But you didn't let that be the barrier. You're asking for help. And the parents are willing because they see the transformation in their children. I'd like wonderful. Right here, you have the gentleman. It's being recording.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name is Harrison. I'm the Rugby LA founder. We're the rugby provider for After School All-Stars. So actually kind of to piggyback on that last response is just to kind of know when you're in over your head, and that doesn't necessarily mean don't do anything. Like After School All-Stars has such a fleshed out policy on a lot of the stuff that's going on. So we turn to them and we say, hey, look, we want to be in line with you. And so we were speaking, but also similar with our panel, in Michigan doing the same work. How do we get to the Latinos in that community? And they, our panelists had another organization called Latinx that's very good with that. So just collaborating with the other organizations that are doing this good work as a way to make sure you're kind of in line with the experts, so to speak. So thank you.
Thank you. Excellent.
Hi, Harrison.
Wonderful. Okay, I want to say there's one more report, and then we'll open up a few questions because I know I'm coming at time. Let's see, one more report. All right, thank you. There we go.
Okay, I'm Elaine Ramirez. We're all the way from Austin, Texas, Hook 'em Horns. Me and my friend right here, we are one of the many, or very few, Latinas at our job. We work for a nonprofit in West Austin. And so I kind of wrote down something like role models, like Hector was telling me, who's going to be the first one to ring the bell, right? Who's going to be the first one to go out there and maybe do the work first before we can ask all the other girls to come in and do it for us, right? So I thought about that. I was like, you know what? He's right. He's a little right about that. So I said, who's going to be the first one to lead the way? If it's not me, it could be Daniela or it could be somebody else. But if we work in a nonprofit and we want to see more girls like us or more communities like us, we have to invite them in, or maybe we have to go out there and reach out to them. So maybe doing something like that, even if you don't look like us, for the other ones that spoke or whatnot, maybe you can still lead the way and still show them that they are welcome, they are here to play, right? That's what we're here about for the kids. Want to make sure everybody's here to play and just kind of lead that way, be the one to ring the bell, even if you don't understand or don't know the community, make a decision, make a choice, make an effort. Effort goes a long way, and I think that goes for everybody in sports world, so yeah.
Effort and passion. Right. Kids want to play and they want to be seen. So I want to thank you so much for your interest, for this engagement. I had a lot of fun. And how are we doing on time? It's over. So, but if you have any questions, I was buying some minutes off of her, but she said no. But there's an opportunity to talk to the panelists, ask them for information, and staying in touch. On behalf of the Aspen Institute, thank you so very much for supporting this program today, and have a wonderful rest of the summit.